I never imagined that my humble popcorn stand would lead me to a millionaire's heart. The day was a blur of colors and sounds, the smell of buttery popcorn hanging thick in the air. I remember the hustle of the crowd, laughter rising and falling like waves, an intoxicating melody of joy. Yet, in my chest, uncertainty pulsed relentlessly. I stood there, behind my cart, hands trembling as I poured the popcorn into bags. My heart raced with each smile I saw, each coin I collected. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The sunlight glinted off the golden kernels, but shadows loomed heavy in my mind. Just a week before, my brother Sam had promised to help me expand the stand, to build something more, something real. He believed in me. But now, his absence gnawed at me. The empty space beside me felt like a void, echoing with the promises unkept. People came and went, but I felt isolated. I noticed a figure amongst the crowd, a tall man in a tailored suit. His gaze was intense, like a comet piercing the sky. I caught my breath. There was something magnetic about him. His eyes lingered on my tiny popcorn stand. Did he see value in this modest operation, or was he merely amused? As I handed a warm bag to a young girl, she squealed with delight, her laughter wrapping around me like a warm hug. But that warmth quickly faded as the man took a few steps closer. My pulse thundered in my ears. The familiarity of my mundane life collided with this striking stranger. I felt a storm brewing, an unspoken tension. Is this all just a distraction? I wondered. My dreams clashed with my fears, swirling like the vibrant popcorn in my cart. Just when I thought he might look away, he leaned closer, and I caught a glimpse of something deeper in his expression, curiosity blended with determination. It was unnerving. What did he want? Was he here to mock me? Or did he see the potential buried under my modest operation? I could feel the collective gaze of bystanders intensify, whispers vibrating in the air around us, cutting through the laughter. I swallowed hard, trying to maintain my composure. I was just a popcorn vendor, after all. But in that moment, there felt like there was so much more at stake. Then it happened. A deafening sound cut through the joyful noise, a sudden crash from behind the stand. My heart plummeted. I turned to look. A cart had overturned, empty soda cans rolling like errant marbles, and in that instant, the world around me spiraled into chaos. The man's eyes flicked back to me, an expression of concern, a spark igniting between us. But before I could process that connection, the crowd surged forward, gasps and confusion filling the air. My heart raced dangerously as panic gripped me. What would come next? Would I lose everything? Was this the end of my dreams, or the beginning of something I couldn't foresee? I felt completely unprepared, caught between the chaos and the calm, standing frozen in the eye of the storm. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The crowd pressed in, towering figures blocking my view as I stumbled backward, instinctively clutching the edges of my popcorn cart. The loud clatter of cans echoed in my ears, but beneath that cacophony, I sensed a tide of emotions swirling around me. Fear, confusion, and something faintly hopeful. Though the chaos felt suffocating, I could make out flashes of shared concern across faces, strangers looking out for one another, moments of kindness intertwined with the pandemonium. A young woman stepped forward, eyes wide with determination. Without hesitation, she rushed to help the vendor whose cart had toppled, her friend beside her extending a hand to gather the scattered cans. Together they moved swiftly, effortlessly threading through the throng, and I found myself momentarily anchored in their spirit. Then, as if guided by some gravitational force, the man in the tailored suit approached. He knelt beside me, his presence grounding me amid the turmoil. "Are you all right?" His voice radiated warmth, cutting through the clatter like a subtle melody. "I think so." My voice was shaky, barely audible over the buzz of the crowd. The reality of the overturned cart weighed heavy upon my heart, but his steady gaze made me feel shielded, as though amidst that chaos, he was a fortress of calm. "I've got you," he said, his eyes locked onto mine. "Focus on what you have to do next. We'll figure this out together." For a moment, all my doubts and fears felt suspended, eclipsed by the intensity of our connection. His reassurance pulled something within me, igniting a flicker of hope buried under layers of self-doubt. He helped me write my card. I felt the warmth of that fleeting hope mix with the bitter ache of loss and uncertainty. My brother's face flashed before me, a reminder of what I could have shared with him in this moment. I cast my eyes down, a wave of sadness crashing against the buoy of hope the stranger had offered. Was it fair to feel this much amidst the storm? The crowd began to settle, nervous laughter echoing as they resumed their previous activities. Just then, someone called out my name. It was the young girl from moments before, with the joyful laughter that had warmed my heart. She ran towards me, a smile stretched across her face as she held out a crumpled dollar bill. "Here, for the popcorn." Her voice rang with sincerity, a simple act of kindness that struck me deeply that I couldn't help but smile back, my heart swelling with emotions. The weight of despair began to lift with each step she took, each regret and uncertainty temporarily overshadowed by her innocent faith in my little stand. "Thank you," I managed, grateful for her light. Even as shadows lurked in the corners of my mind I took the dollar. The man next to me cleared his throat. "I would love to try your popcorn too," he said, his lips lifting into an encouraging smile, which caught me slightly off guard. "I think you have something special here." Did he really mean that? I could only muster a small nod in response, half flattered and half wary. Perhaps this stranger saw something that I didn't, an ember of potential I had long buried under the ashes of my self-doubt. But before I could reflect deeper on his words, my phone buzzed violently in my pocket. The familiar sound of an incoming call ripped through my contemplations, and as I fished it out, I noticed the caller ID. It was Sam's old number. Confusion and dread clawed at my insides. My heart raced. It had been weeks since we lost contact, and I thought of how my brother would never call again. With trembling hands, I answered, my voice barely a whisper. "Hello?" The line crackled, silence spanning across the distance. Just as I was about to hang up, I heard a voice questioning, uncertain, as if it were echoing through time. Is this you?" In a heartbeat, everything shifted. The bewilderment of that moment coursed through me. The well of emotions I thought I had sealed tightly began to spill. What revelation lay in the shadows on the other end of the line? My breath hitched as my heart pounded, furiously, churning with a blend of fear and anticipatory hope. My heart raced, each beat resonating like thunder within my chest as I clutched the phone. "Who is this?" I managed to ask, my voice barely above a whisper, afraid to hope for an answer I desperately craved. "Is this Mia?" The voice on the other end was hesitant, but undeniably familiar. My breath hitched as I fought to place it amidst the storm of emotions swirling inside me. It couldn't be. Was I merely longing for the sound of my brother's voice, conjuring images from the past? "Yes, I'm Mia." The uncertainty hung heavily in the air, like the dense fog of a storm yet to break. My heart thudded louder, echoing my anxiety. It's Sam." There was a shaky vulnerability in his tone that cut through the noise, despite the distance that separated us. For a fleeting moment, I was buoyed on waves of disbelief and triumph. "Sam, where are you?" It was a jumbled question, but my heart longed for clarity. The thought that he might be alive, that somehow he was reaching out to me, filled the void I'd felt since that fateful day. There was a long pause, and I could hear the shuffling on the other end, an unsteady silence that only amplified my surge of desperation. "I'm not sure how to explain everything right now, but I need you to know that I'm okay. I'm safe." His voice cracked on the last word, betraying the tumult beneath the surface. As he spoke, doubt slithered back into my mind. Why didn't you call sooner? I thought my emotions spiraled as I recalled the painful memories of that day, searching, questioning, praying for a miracle I thought I'd never find. "I had to disappear, Mia. It was not safe for me." His voice faltered, and I held my breath, urging him to continue. "I didn't want to put you in danger. I was afraid it might spill over." Confusion washed over me. What danger? What had compelled him to cut ties when he had always promised to protect me? I wanted to scream at him for leaving me alone in the darkness. But beneath that anger, Annoyance coiled tightly. The flicker of hope burned fiercely. "Why are you calling now?" I asked, the weight of all I had lost pressing down on my chest. "Why now?" "I need your help," he said, and I faltered, feeling as though the ground had shifted beneath my feet. "There are things I can't explain over the phone. I should have reached out before, but there are people looking for me. I don't know how much time I have." Each word sent a shock through me, electrifying the air as dread crept in around the edges of my anticipation. "People looking for you? Sam, what did you get yourself into?" My voice trembled with the weight of confusion and profound concern. "I promise I'll explain everything when I see you. I just need you to trust me," he urged, the urgency thick enough to choke on. "Meet me at the old bridge by the park. Tonight at 8. Please, Mia." "Sam," I started, but the line fell silent, the sudden emptiness echoing in my ears like a finality. Before I could even process the whirlwind of emotions, the call had ended. My fingers trembled as I lowered the phone, the world around me blurring into a quiet disarray. Now there was a destination, a purpose for the day that sparked my mind alive with questions and fears. "Mia," the man in the tailored suit snapped me back to the present. His brows were knitted with concern. "Are you okay?" I looked up at him, lost in a tempest of emotions. Before I could pull the words together, he stepped a bit closer, his eyes searching mine. "You don't have to do this alone." Whatever it is, I paused, feeling the weight of the decision to engage him further. But how could I burden a stranger with the chaos brewing inside? I saw a flicker of understanding in his eyes that made me ache to spill everything. Yet I was terrified of revealing too much, of losing the gripping bond of hope he had ignited. But just as I opened my mouth to respond, a frantic figure rushed past us, weaving through the crowd, a haunting expression painting their face. "Help! Someone has gone missing." Panic rippled through those nearby. Instinctively, the warmth of dynamic connections spilled into the chaos once more. Strangers began to gather, concern weaving through us, creating a tapestry of shared fear. For a moment, I was frozen in place, the weight of it all spiraling around me. The flicker of hope for Sam was intertwined with the rising tide of anxiety swirling around the vicinity. Uncertainty gnawed at my stomach. As strangers gathered, exchanging grim glances, I caught sight of the young girl from earlier, still clutching the crumpled dollar bill with an innocent glow, and her smile was suddenly overshadowed by the collective distress overtaking the scene. My thoughts jumbled into chaos once again. I had a meeting with Sam, a conversation that might unveil mysteries, yet reality pressed heavily upon me, reminding me of how vulnerable and fragile life could be. How one call could pull you into the depths of joy, only to have the hope clouded by shadows of misfortune. "Carrie," the voice of the frantic figure rang out again, and my heart jolted at the implication. The crowd swelled, each heart beating in unison, strangers anxious for someone's well-being, an unspoken bond that tightened around us, ready to push through the fear. Could I really go to the bridge and confront my brother's fears when another life hung in the balance right here? Torn between two worlds, I took a step into the chaotic ebb of uncertainty, feeling the chill of the night creeping in. What would I choose? The looming darkness of unresolved fragments, or the tangible urgency swirling before me? "Let us go." The man's voice broke through my deliberation, drawing me back to the present. "We need to help." And as I glanced behind us, I felt that flicker of hope shift deeper, merging with an unwavering resolve. But even in that moment, a haunting question whispered in the corners of my mind. Would I be able to hold on to my brother's promise and dive headfirst into the darkness, even if it meant leaving the light behind? The chaos swelled around me, but the intensity of my thoughts shielded me momentarily from the crowd's anxiety. My heart was torn into jagged pieces, each beat wrestling with the weight of the decision ahead: carry on towards the ephemeral promise of my brother's return, or dive into the throes of uncertainty, chasing after a girl named Carrie whom I'd never met, but felt somehow connected to. "Mia," the man in the suit turned his gaze firmly towards me, his expression a mixture of concern and determination. "We can't just stand here. If someone is in danger," he trailed off, allowing the truth of the situation to settle over us both. "We need to help." A flicker of courage ignited within me. Perhaps the universe was pulling my heart in this direction for a reason, drawn away from my own murky depths to lend strength to others in need. Okay, I nodded resolutely, swallowing hard. Let us go? Together, we pushed through the thrumming crowd, joining the swelling chorus of voices calling out into the darkness. I caught fleeting glimpses of worry across faces I'd never met, unified in desperation. It was as if the universe was looping our lives together, intertwining strands of fate. I hardly knew their stories, but at that moment, we were all actors in an unfolding tragedy that echoed through the air. The frantic figure we had followed, a woman with disheveled hair and tears glistening in her eyes, continued to call out for Carrie, her voice rising in a strangled pitch as she spun around searching for any sign of her daughter. She looked so familiar I had seen that depth of fear before. It was the fear I'd felt as I waited for news of Sam, the haunting emptiness of wondering whether my world would collapse around me. Where was she last seen? A tall man jumped in, his brow furrowed with seriousness. The crowd quieted momentarily, hovering on the edge of hope the slightest pause before the inevitable storm of panic. Over by the fountain, the woman stammered. She was playing, and then I turned for just a moment. A sob escaped her lips, cutting through the darkness that had settled upon us. The fountain. A sacred place filled with laughter, bubbling water, and playful dreams, a spot I remembered fondly from simpler times. Before my thoughts spiraled into gloom, I felt the man in the tailored suit take my hand, anchoring me to reality, guiding me, urging me forward as we sprinted towards the area where Carrie had vanished. As we reached the fountain, my heart lurched at the sight of shimmering water illuminated by colored lights, casting playful reflections in wavelets. A group of children gathered, their laughter weaved with the backdrop of concern swirling in the air around us. I surveyed their innocent faces, each one embodying freedom and safety, while ringed by the tension hovering beneath the surface. Carrie, I called out, my voice merging with the mosaic of others desperate to connect with the little girl. The name felt foreign on my tongue, echoing off the stones and slipping into the night like a faint whisper pleading for her return. But amidst the growing worry, I caught a glimpse of something bright near the edge of the fountain. A small red jacket, unmistakably vibrant, fluttering just below the edge of the water's surface. There, I shouted, pointing eagerly towards it. Frantic energy surged through the crowd as we all rushed to the spot. Hands pushed through the water, fingers grasping at the fabric until someone finally pulled it free. The woman's face filled with renewed desperation as she whipped around, her frantic gaze searching for a sign of her daughter. Time slowed. That single jacket encapsulated every soul's dread, the missing piece of a puzzle each one of us shared. That I glanced at the man beside me, seeing in his eyes the shared pain and determination to help someone we did not know. In that moment, we became an unbreakable alliance forged in the flames of uncertainty and hope. Where is she? The mother breathed, panic written all over her face. The crowd surged around her, the love of a parent rendered raw and exposed. An aching sight I knew all too well. A flicker of movement captured my attention. From behind a nearby tree, a tiny figure emerged through the foliage, her young face smeared with dirt but adorned with an oversized grin filled with triumph. "Mom!" Carrie shouted, bounding towards her mother, arms outstretched. Relief flooded the scene, yet as joy spread like wildfire through the crowd, I felt the suffocating weight of my own choices tugging at me. I should have felt elated by the happy reunion, but a gnawing doubt surged through my gut. Sam, I murmured softly to myself. Would I still meet him as promised? What had he seen that compelled him to contact me? The bubbling joy around me dulled as apprehension came crashing back uninvited. Are you all right? The man with the tailored suit interrupted my spiraling thoughts. Concern etched into his handsome features as Carrie and her mother embraced tightly, tears streaming down their faces. I'm fine. I hesitated, glancing back at the bridge where I felt my brother's presence linger despite the distance. My resolve wavered. I wasn't sure I could brave the path ahead filled with shadows and secrets without confronting the reality of what had come before. But in that moment of solace bathed in warmth, a sudden realization gripped my heart. Time waits for no one. Every heartbeat ticks toward the inevitable. I was standing on the precipice between fear and hope, and with every beat, I felt the pull of promise unbroken that echoed in the void, urging me to keep moving forward. Let us go back to the bridge, I said firmly, my voice grounding itself in resolve, glancing once more towards the raucous joy stirred by the reunited family. I have to meet him tonight. As I stepped away from the crowd, the world around me blurred once more, intertwining the urgency of a reunion with the specter of what awaited me. With that final decision echoing in my mind, anticipation rushed in, igniting hope, yet a chilling realization remained. The darkness I had chosen to face might bring answers, but would it lead me to the light or consume me entirely? The night was thick with tension as I made my way back to the bridge, the distant echo of laughter fading behind me. The air was heavy, saturated with uncertainty that seemed to wrap around me like a shroud. Each step felt like an indecipherable rhythm, a heartbeat that guided me across the span of what once felt familiar, but now felt fraught with hidden truths. As I reached the bridge, I could barely see where the darkness met the shadows. A soft gust of wind rattled through the steel supports, and for a brief moment, it carried with it the scent of memories I had left behind, days spent with Sam, laughing and dreaming of future summers. The gravity of my choices intensified, swirling through my thoughts like fog obscuring the clarity of what lay ahead. But there was something more, an undeniable pull, an anxious sensation churning in my belly, urging me forward. It was a reminder of my promise to Sam, one that I could no longer ignore. I stopped at the center, scanning the vicinity, because this was where Sam had led me before, where he had told me he'd wait. Uncertainty gripped my heart, but there was also a flicker of hope tucked away in the corners of my mind that I reached into my pocket, my fingers grazing the crumpled paper Sam had written on. The words felt alive between my fingertips, full of unspoken emotion that sent shivers down my spine. My heart raced not just with dread but also with a profound yearning to understand, to embrace whatever was left unsaid between us. As I stood there, painted in shadows, I felt the world shrink around me, and a familiar figure stepped out of the darkness. My breath caught in my throat. It was him, Sam. He looked just as I remembered, yet there was something different, an air of urgency around him. Mia, he called softly, his voice trembling under the weight of unshared burdens. With every syllable that tumbled from his lips, I sensed the depth of everything left unsaid. I didn't think you'd come. I was afraid. What happened? I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. There was something in his eyes, an ache that mirrored my own fears. I wanted to run to him, to bridge the gap that life had created between us, but uncertainty rooted me in place. I've been, he paused, inhaling sharply as if the words themselves were painful to utter. I've been looking for you. There is something important we need to talk about. It's about, his words trailed off, his gaze slipping away from mine as though the answer had become too heavy to bear. What is it, Sam? I pressed, the shadows lurking at the periphery of my consciousness, threatening to pull me down. My heart hammered in a relentless rhythm, yearning for clarity, for healing. Before he could respond, a commotion erupted at the far end of the bridge. My pulse quickened as I turned just in time to see a woman, frazzled and frantic, racing up the pathway, her eyes wide with panic. Has anyone seen my brother? She cried out, fear cutting through the air like glass. In that moment, I felt Sam's presence waver. He looked strained, an invisible weight pushing him inward. I turned my attention back to the woman, instinctively moving to comfort her, but there was a nagging feeling that kept me tethered to Sam. My heart split between the two, my need to understand what he had to share and the urgent call of another in distress. Mia, wait. Sam reached for me, his voice laced with an urgency I couldn't quite grasp. His eyes were filled with something deeper and darker than I had ever seen, a glimpse of something that tugged at my heart in ways words couldn't capture. You don't know what's at stake. The words hung in the air like a thick fog, cloaking the bridge in uncertainty. As I turned my gaze back toward him, caught in the web of our shared history and the attention of a stranger in distress. Could I really face the secrets he was about to unravel? And would turning away lead me to lose him again? As I stood at a crossroads, deciding in that breathless moment between reunion and the cry for help, the chilling truth of Sam's warning lingered in the back of my mind. I could feel the universe holding its breath, waiting to see which path I would choose. Then, as the woman's cries grew louder, I felt the ground beneath me shift. A sudden rush of wind whipped through the bridge, stirring the leaves and catching Sam off guard just as a strange voice emerged from the depths of the night, a voice I recognized. "Mia, you have to come with me." My heart sank into my stomach as I turned to see a figure stepping into the dim light, a figure I had never expected to see again. The last person I ever imagined would cross my path under these circumstances, a reminder of shadows I thought I had left behind. And just like that, everything hung in the balance, poised to shatter into 1,000 fragments as I stared wide-eyed at the reality I had never seen coming, leaving me teetering on the brink of a revelation that threatened to change everything I thought I knew. The air shifted intoxicatingly with the scent of impending rain, a tension palpable in the thickening silence as I faced the figure before me. It was a ghost from my past, Chloe. Her presence was like a sudden storm, a convergence of emotions I had buried deep: resentment, pain, an unwillingness to forgive, and inexplicable nostalgia for what once was. "Mia, please," she implored, desperation lining her voice as she scanned my face for recognition and acceptance. "You don't understand. I need you." "I don't think you need anything from me," I replied, coldness seeping through. The hurt of our last encounter, sharp as a freshly cut wound, propelled me to keep my distance. The world around us grew dimmer as Sam watched, confusion swirling in his eyes. Uncertainty gnawed at me, mingled with the flicker of hope that Sam's revelations promised. But Chloe's presence muddied the waters, drawing me into an emotional whirlpool I didn't know how to navigate. "Wait," Sam called out, moving closer, his voice a tether to the moment. "Mia, don't just walk away. This is important." But Chloe's expression morphed from desperation to fierce determination. "You have to trust me. It's about our parents. They're in danger, Mia. You need to come with me." For a moment, time froze. The memory of that night echoed back, the shouts, the sirens, the last time I saw them when everything fell apart. The revelation shot through me like a shockwave, igniting fears I thought I'd buried. "What are you talking about?" I nearly screamed, my voice cracking under the weight of disbelief. "We don't have time. They're not safe, and you're in more danger than you know." Her eyes were pleading, wide, glistening like the promise of rain. "We need to get you out of here." "Get me out?" I laughed bitterly, incredulity mixing with dread. "You think I'm just going to leave? Not after all that has happened." Not when I finally figured out, I turned to Sam, finding a flicker of understanding in his expression. Not when I just found him again. But as I scanned Sam's face, the stoic facade broke, revealing a vulnerable soul, grappling with the shadows of our past. The chasm of uncertainty between us seemed to swell, threatening to engulf me. "Mia, I don't know what Chloe knows," but Sam began, taking a step toward us. Chloe interrupted, her voice tightened with urgency. "You don't understand. They're coming for you both. I can't explain it all right now, but you need to trust me for once." Trust? The word felt foreign, caught between past betrayals and buried memories. I recalled happy afternoons at the beach, the fleeting moments before we became strangers. And yet, this was the girl who had vanished, the chapters of our intertwined stories torn and scattered among the pages of a tumultuous history. "Why should I trust you now?" I accused, my heart racing, conflicted. "I would never put you in danger purposely." Her voice softened. "I know I messed up and left you when you needed me most, but this isn't about us. It's about saving what's left of our family for your sake, for you to be safe. We can figure everything else out later." Sam remained rock steady, tension radiating from him as he watched the exchange, silence allowing the tempest of unspoken words to hang heavy in the air. The distant wail of sirens grew closer, an ominous reminder of the realities we faced. "Mia, please," he murmured, his eyes almost pleading. "If there's a chance we can keep you safe, don't dismiss it. We can talk once we're away from here." Fear, uncertainty, anger, and an undeniable thread of hope coursed through me as I stood between them, my past colliding violently with my future. I felt the rain begin to fall, droplets plummeting from the sky, mingling with the whirlwind of emotions swimming inside of me. And then, in that precarious moment, I made the choice to seek clarity. "Fine," I said at last, meeting Chloe's gaze with ferocity. "I'll go with you, but trust goes both ways." "Thank you." Her relief was palpable, but just as fear gripped my heart again, a loud crash resonated from the far end of the bridge. Through the blinding flash of uncertainty and instinct, I turned back to Sam. His face had paled as he glanced toward the source of the noise, an understanding passing between us. I could feel the walls of time closing in, the moment of reprieve lingering fragilely in the air. "I can't lose you again," he breathed, and I felt the truth in his words, a tether stretching between our fates. But before I could respond, the shadows parted, and figures emerged, tall and menacing, approaching with purpose. My heart raced as the realization sunk in it was too late. The night was alive with danger as a new chapter unfurled, our fates entwined in a fragile web of choices and the looming specter of what we might lose. With every heartbeat, hope clashed with fear, leading me to a precipice where I was left unsure of what awaited us next. The air was electric with tension as the figures drew nearer, shadows encroaching upon our fragile moment of clarity. My instincts screamed at me to run, to flee into the uncertain darkness, but Chloe's grip on my arm was unyielding, a tether to the chaotic reality that had just unraveled. "Mia, we need to move now," Chloe urged, her voice barely above a whisper, yet imbued with desperation. In the chaos of shifting emotions, I felt Sam's presence beside me, his determination a silent promise that we wouldn't face this alone. I turned toward him, searching for reassurance amid the turbulence. "What do we do?" I asked, a tremor in my voice. "Stick together," he said, his eyes darting to the advancing figures, assessing the threat. "We don't know how many there are." Chloe led the way, pulling me along as we moved deeper into the cover of the trees lining the bridge. The rain began to cascade down, soaking through my clothes, but I barely registered the cold. All I could focus on was the sensation of moving away from danger, an instinct as primal as the need to breathe that we navigated the underbrush. The shadows loomed closer as we stumbled over roots and rocks, my heart pounding in rhythm with the release of adrenaline. But even as we fled, the ghosts of our past intertwined with my thoughts. Chloe's betrayal, her sudden absence at our bitter moment of need haunted me. "Why now?" I shouted over the sound of the downpour. "What makes this different? Why didn't you come back sooner?" "I couldn't, Mia. I thought if I stayed away, I'd keep you safe," she cried, a beat of anguish escaping her lips. "But I was wrong to run. I see that now." We paused for a moment to catch our breath, crouching behind a cluster of trees away from their prying eyes. Sam's hand brushed against mine, giving me a boost of courage, and I squeezed his hand, grateful for his steadfast presence. The urgency in Chloe's voice shattered the moment. "We don't have time for this. They're closer. I promise to explain everything once we're safe, but you have to trust me to lead you." The gut-wrenching frustration threatened to buckle my knees. "Trust?" I echoed, the word tumbling out laced with bitterness. "How can I trust you when everything you've done, everything that happened still feels like a betrayal?" "Mia, please," Chloe's voice broke, pain reflected in her eyes. "I know I owe you an explanation for the past, but this isn't about us right now. It's about our families, our futures. I won't let anything happen to you. I swear." Before I could respond, the distant growl of voices cut through the rain, raising the hairs on the back of my neck. I turned to Sam, my heart plummeting. "We need to get moving," he urged again, but when I looked back at Chloe, her expression was pained yet resolute. "It's time to confront this together," she said, breathing heavily. "The truth will set us free." So we hurried deeper into the woods, the rain drumming a frantic rhythm against the earth beneath our feet. I felt a strange mix of apprehension and an ember of reluctant hope as I followed Chloe into the darkness. I could almost believe we might unravel the tangled threads between us and find a way to be whole again. A branch snapped nearby, halting my hurried steps. Panic surged as rigid figures emerged from the shadows, catching the glint of metal under the fractured moonlight. A woman stepped to the fore, her expression twisted into a malicious grin that sent icy tendrils of fear creeping down my spine. "Thought you could run from your past, did you?" she taunted, her voice smooth like silk, cold and calculating. "You've been awfully hard to find, Mia." In that moment, the reality of my life came crashing down. I glanced at Sam, whose eyes held an intensity that momentarily channeled my fear into resolve. Chloe's face paled, and an inkling of realization flickered in her gaze. "What do you want with her?" Sam demanded, positioning himself slightly in front of me, an unspoken vow to protect me brimming in his posture. Her smile widened, a predator savoring its prey. Why don't you have a seat? We need to discuss your family's little secrets. Time slowed, the nostalgia of our past amplified by the looming darkness of our present. Every heartbeat resounded in my ears, reminding me of everything I had to lose. Secrets folded within secrets, and trust lay teetering on the edge of collapse. Then, just as dread seeped into the marrow of my bones, she revealed a glimmering pendant from beneath her coat, its surface radiant with a stormy energy that felt tied to my childhood. This belonged to your mother. The blood drained from my face as a jolt of disbelief shot through me. What do you mean? The question escaped, tangled in confusion and fear, but she simply held it out, the pendant swinging gently, like a pendulum counting down to our fate. And in that moment, the fragile barrier between our past and our uncertain future threatened to shatter. The pendant hung in the air, its metallic sheen reflecting the soft glow of the moonlight filtering through the trees, and for a brief moment, time stretched into an unbearable eternity. I felt stripped bare, my defenses crumbling around me as the woman's gaze bore into my soul. The rain had lessened, but a chill coursed through me, igniting memories long buried. That pendant, it belonged to my mother? I repeated, my voice shaking with the weight of the revelation. Emotions swirled within me, rage, confusion, and a sinking dread. Your mother had her secrets, child. The woman's words dripped with malice. And you've inherited more than just her jewelry. Chloe's grip on my arm tightened as Sam stepped closer, his protective stance a flickering beacon of strength. What do you know about her? His voice shook, but not with fear. He was trying to draw out whatever truth loomed beneath the woman's sinister smile. A great deal. She tilted her head, amusement playing across her features. Let us just say your mother was involved in things far beyond your understanding. Things that could alter the very foundation of your lives. Her eyes glinted with eerie satisfaction. With every word, I could feel the walls of my understanding crumbling. Everything I thought I knew about my mother, the woman whose absence had shaped so much of my life, who was a sanctuary and a mystery, now felt like a mirage. You're lying, I snarled, my heart hammering in my chest. Am I? She chuckled softly, and every sound echoed in my mind as the darkness around us pulsed with tension. Don't you want to know the truth? Why she left? Who she truly was? An unexpected flicker of resolve ignited within me, igniting the embers of hope amid the fear. Whatever my mother did, whatever past ties she had, it doesn't change who I am. I want to be pulled into your twisted games. Chloe stepped forward, her voice rising in urgency. Tell us what you want with Mia, and then we can talk about your threats, about everything. Don't drag her mother into this. The woman's eyes gleamed, reveling in our turmoil. Ah, fresh meat and old bones, how delightful. I want you cautiously to lead us to those who took what was mine. I want blood, and I'll make sure you give it willingly, or you'll suffer for your mother's sins. Enough, I cried, desperation creeping into my voice. If you think you can threaten me into submission, I don't need to threaten you, Mia. The past will do that for me. Her gaze softened, revealing a glimmer of dark tenderness. But if you agree to play my little game, I may just let you keep your life, and perhaps learn more about your mother in the process. Before I could respond, a rustling behind us pulled my attention. My heart dropped when I saw two more figures emerging from the darkness, their faces obscured, yet the hostility radiating from them was palpable. We were cornered, trapped like mice in a snare. This isn't how it ends, Sam said, his voice steady. We're not afraid of you. Courage is a rare commodity these days, the woman sneered, her grin widening. But you will find fear will always at least keep you awake. A shiver slithered down my spine at the twisted contemplation of what she might mean. Come on, Mia, Chloe urged, her expression one of grim determination. I could see it, a reflection of my own resolve buried under layers of doubt. We haven't lost yet. But as I was about to grasp her hand, a sharp pain struck like lightning across my wrist. I gasped, looking down to see the glint of a small blade pulled from one of the shadows, pressed threateningly against my skin. Mia, Sam shouted, lurching forward, but the new figure held a firm grip on me, drawing me in closer. The air thickened with dread as the woman danced in delight, her eyes glimmering with a sinister light. We all have choices to make. And sometimes, blood is the only currency that matters. A heavy silence enveloped us, punctuated only by the rhythmic patter of rain on leaves and my heart, racing and frantic. The world had twisted in under a moment's notice, and suddenly the bond of friendship and trust began to fray like the edges of a worn-out tapestry. Then, as if scripted by fate, the words I never imagined whispered through my mind. There was something here I had yet to see, an understanding to unravel the tension. The stakes heightened with every heartbeat, and I was just beginning to realize that this wasn't simply about my mother's past. It was about finding my own strengths, forging bonds anew, and perhaps piecing together the scattered fragments of love hidden amidst dissonance. But before I could gather my breath to speak firmly, the new figure leaned closer, whispering words that chilled my very core. There's more to your bloodline than you are ready to understand. It runs deeper than even you know. As I stared into the abyss of uncertainty, battling trust and betrayal, the words loomed ominously, and I suddenly felt the pendulum of fate swing precariously over an unseen cliff, leaving me breathless, clawing back into the shadows. The atmosphere grew heavier, pressing down on us like the weight of unspoken truths. My pulse throbbed in my ears as I strained to comprehend the implications of the figure's words. I felt as though I stood on the precipice of an abyss, staring into my very essence, my lineage. Mia, Sam's voice pierced the thickening fog of confusion. Don't listen to them. We'll find a way out of this. Just hold on. His determination rang true, resonating in my heart like a lighthouse amidst a storm. But the woman's sinister laughter cut through the moment, reverberating in the damp air. Oh, dear boy, you have no idea about the forces you're toying with. She gestured grandly towards the shadowy figures that shifted restlessly at her side. They've come to help me ensure that Miss Mia learns her legacy, whether she likes it or not. Stop, I cried, the word tumbling out on a wave of defiance that surprised even me. I refuse to let you dictate my life, or my mother's. My defiance flickered like a candle in the wind, and I couldn't help but glance at Chloe, her face set in stoic determination, readying herself for whatever challenge hovered before us. But the flicker of hope began to wane with every passing second as I sensed the encroaching darkness. If blood is what you want, then I'll give you mine. The words tasted bitter, and I felt the tension curl around us like ivy, threatening to ensnare every ounce of resolve we possessed. But I won't lead you anywhere. My mother's past, whatever it might be, doesn't involve me. Two sharp breaths exploded beside me, Chloe's indignation and Sam's quiet support. They remained my anchors in this storm, but the ground beneath us was shifting in ways we couldn't yet fathom. I dared a glance at the blade at my wrist, its sharp edge contrasting disturbingly against the skin of my trembling arm. The woman's expression morphed into something darker, her smile dissolving into a cold smirk. I see you're feeling feisty, but don't think that makes you strong. Letting the past go means relinquishing your power. You'll see, Mia. You'll understand your worth when it's too late. The imminent threat hung above us, but despite the surging dread, I felt a strange camaraderie with my friends. We were standing together against the shadows. They remained steadfast alongside me, just as I wanted to believe I was for them. And yet, the truth lurked. This was only the surface. What if you're wrong? I whispered, gazing into the depths of her eyes. What if the legacy you're so eager to reveal is filled with love instead of blood? Her eyes narrowed as if the very suggestion burned her. Love? Is that what you think this is about? You're too naive, child. Power dwells in chaos, not affection. Your heart will be your downfall. I swallowed hard, feeling the pulse of dread surge around us once more. But deep within the shadows of this confrontation, something flickered. A quiet voice swelled, urging me to tap into my courage, to recognize that this chaos could be the catalyst for change in my life. Perhaps embracing my legacy didn't mean succumbing to fear, but rather challenging it. Just as I prepared to confront the woman with new resolve, the figure behind me tightened their grip on my wrist, jerking me backward. Enough of this. His voice dripped with impatience, but the menace was underscored by something else, something darker. The game has gone on long enough. We'll take what we need. No, Sam shouted, tearing away from Chloe, a fierce protectiveness lighting his eyes. You won't harm her. A surge of energy crackled through me, igniting a fire in my belly. "Let go of me," I shouted, struggling against the unseen hold, recalling every moment of love and devotion that had illuminated my mother's absence, every lesson she had shared. "You don't control me. You can't distort my spirit." But they tightened their grip until I felt the sharp edge of the blade biting deeper into my skin. Panic screeched through my body, choking my voice, yet fetching a well of courage, a paradoxical blend of bravery and fear. I thrust my mind back to the comfort of my mother's memories, and in that moment, I took a leap. "Chloe, Sam. Now!" I screamed, and in a moment fueled by adrenaline, I twisted my wrist and broke free from the figure's grasp, stumbling backward into Chloe's sturdy frame just as darkness exploded around us. But the woman was quick, her gaze fixing on me with fierce intensity. "You only deepen your mother's sins, child. Your ignorance will bring destruction, mark my words." With a roar, she lunged forward, but something reciprocated within the shadows, fueling the energies swirling around us. As the forgotten remnants of the past rumbled ominously, I felt the air shift between us. "Mia," Chloe shouted sharply, pulling me closer as the storm erupted. In that moment of chaos, I could see the shadows fracturing, revealing fragments of memories caught in the whirlwind, a glimpse of my mother, youthful and free, dancing amidst aspirations and choices, the pain of parting imprinted in her hopeful smile. Then, in the eye of the storm, revelations surged like tidal waves crashing upon the shore. Just when I thought I was gaining a sense of clarity, I was ensnared once more as the winds changed direction, unveiling a whisper lost beneath the ferocity of the storm. And the woman's final words pierced through the howling wind, a chilling promise etched in my soul. "You will not escape your destiny, dear Mia. Blood calls to blood, and it is your turn to answer." With that, the darkness coalesced, leaving me breathless, caught in an inescapable web of woeful truths, propelling me further into a maelstrom where courage, love, and the unknown became indistinguishable. I teetered on a razor-thin line between knowing and becoming, each heartbeat leading me closer toward a revelation, a truth waiting just beyond the horizon, where shadows and light entwined, promising to unveil the very essence of my legacy. The rain poured in relentless sheets as I stood there, drenched in the chaos unfolding around us. Each droplet felt heavy on my skin, just like the burden of the moment I found myself in. The shadows loomed larger than life, echoes of the past threatening to wash over me. Where did I find the strength to confront these demons? Just a heartbeat away from losing everything. "Don't listen to them, Mia," Sam shouted, desperation coded in the urgency of his voice. His eyes blazed with determination, anchoring me as I felt the chaos swirl around like a tempest. I took a deep breath, drawing from that flickering ember of hope the belief that perhaps the love my mother had written through our lives was still there, even amid facing the darkest truths. "Chloe, we have to show them we won't be broken," I called out, my heartbeat racing to the pulse of a forgotten courage. The woman in front of us smirked, although I could see the simmering frustration boiling beneath the surface. "You will regret this defiance, dear Mia. You're playing at a game far beyond your understanding." But with that last strain of confidence, something felt different within me. The air pulsed with energy, like an electric current sparked by a moment of shared clarity that a primal instinct pushed me to step forward. "What does that even mean? You want blood? Fine, I'll give you mine, but you'll also have to face the truth. This family isn't built on bloodshed, it's built on love." Those were the words I didn't know I needed to muster until they tumbled out of my mouth with a force of their own. I felt Sam's hand clasp around mine, as if pledging our united front against whatever darkness encroached upon our light. Chloe stepped beside me, her expression fiery, a tempest of emotions swirling behind her eyes. "You won't instill fear in us," she said, her voice steady despite trembling hands. "What bound us before was fractured, but I refuse to let fear conquer my life anymore. We're more than the scars of the past." The woman's facade cracked, just a hairline, but it was enough. Though her control was waning, darkness dripped from her every breath. "Foolish girl, you all think you can break free from what was written in your blood? Your family is entangled in threads of treachery far older than yourselves. You will follow where the fate has chosen. I took a step closer, fiery defiance igniting that ember of hope. Maybe it's time we carve out our own path. And as I stepped forward, so did Sam and Chloe, circling like the shield we needed, forming a barrier of resilience amidst the encroaching shadows, the betrayal, the pain, and the love that twisted our hearts. Everything merged together and propelled me toward understanding. We're not afraid of our past. Whatever it was, we'll face it together. The woman recoiled slightly, unaware of the power rising within us, bolstered by the simple truth that united us. You think this will change anything? With a swift motion, she lunged, trying to grip my arm once more, but it was different now. I felt the surge of bright, warm light exploding outward from within as I refused to respond to fear. "Let go," I shouted, and in that moment, a brilliant flash erupted from my palm, radiating outward like the dawn breaking through the longest night. The shadows recoiled as a chorus of screams echoed, swallowed by the light. For the first time, the darkness grew fearful, unraveling in a symphony of chaos like a dance of smoke in the air. "I'll never give you power over me again," I declared, feeling the tide of our collective strength surging forward, a torrent of incandescent resolve mixing with the cleansing rain cascading around us. Chloe squeezed my hand tighter, and Sam nodded. The three of us forging new energy unfurling before us, intertwined with the very essence of light and love we said we would uphold. The figures faltered, shadows snapping back as if bound by an unseen tether, dispelling the tendrils of fear I had held within for so long. This was at the moment when courage met our haunting past, carving out a path towards healing and understanding. The weight of those secrets washed away with each pulse of light that surrounded us, illuminating truths we could finally face. For those who had long held sway over our fears, strength had no currency, not here, not today. The memories, the legacy, perhaps it had always meant bending toward the light. And then, as light broke over the distance of our shadows, reality condensed, and the woman stared, an expression of sheer disbelief flickering across her face. "You think you can defeat me? You are simply a shade of your mother, nothing more." "No," I replied, more resolute than ever. "I am my own." The vibrant warmth curving around us pulsed, charged with power in a way I never anticipated, one where love and truth would serve as our compass and shield. Sam and Chloe stood by me, our hands linked like a tapestry made whole. With our united stand, the shadows began to fracture, retreating until they vanished completely, leaving us breathless in their absence. When silence enveloped us, it felt like an embrace, and newfound hope settling in like the twilight after a storm. It would take time. Healing was not instant. But just as a flower blooms amidst the remnants of a storm, I felt that the path ahead was radiant with possibilities. Is it over?" Sam asked, his breath heavy with lingering uncertainty. "Not yet," I replied, glancing toward Chloe, whose expression was softening, a realization dawning within our shared moment. "But together, we can face whatever comes next." As we stood in the aftermath, only the rustle of leaves echoed around us, and I understood that my journey had woven together so many lives, each thread interlaced with stories of triumph, failure, resilience, and love. And what mattered most was not the darkness we faced, but the light we chose to embrace. In that moment, the universe held its breath, every heart beating as one, reminding us of all that we had endured. Reflecting on everything I had lost and gained, I drew in a steadying breath. "Whatever happens from here," I said, my voice barely above a whisper, "we'll write the next chapter together." As the dawn broke on the horizon, beneath the weight of uncertainty and shining potential, I sensed that for the first time, our story was just beginning. With my friends by my side, I finally felt that some legacies are not merely inherited, they are forged anew in the fires of our choices. And as the sunlight filtered through the clouds, painting the world with hues of hope, I smiled a smile that felt like coming home. Because in this chaotic turn of fate, perhaps the most powerful legacy of all was love, unconditionally shared, allowing us all to rise together from ashes to new beginnings. "Let us redefine our legacy," I whispered, as the warmth of the sun enveloped us, drawing us into a brighter tomorrow, and turned the page toward a future where we each belonged.